Okay, so warm up and cool down as part of the applied anatomy and physiology section on your 12-mark question. It's likely that the question would be on either warm up or cool down. So just remember that the 12-mark question, that this is half of your 12-mark question, so it's worth 6 of the 12 marks, and we are looking at those, trying to get those 7 points from this section to get into the top band. The main bits of what the questions could be is around structure. So what does a warm-up look like, and what does a cool-down look like? How is it made up? And then also the benefits, which is where we get into a bit more technical language. So warm-up to start with, and this will be split into stages. So we'll look at how the warm-up is structured. So the first stage would be a pulse raiser. So we would want to get the heart pumping, blood pumping around the body, some light general kind of jogging exercises to get the heart rate up a little bit, get our body temperature up a bit. And the other part of the pulse raiser is that we do some mobility. So you can see David Beckham and Rooney there on the picture are just getting their hip joints moving. So we basically get all the joints moving, get the synovial fluid pumping around the body so that we get nice and loose. Once we're warmed up, and it's important that we are warmed up, we can move on to the second stage, which is stretching. So stretches should be performed for about 15 seconds at least, moving through full ranges of movement. Like I said, important that muscles are warmed up before we stretch so that we get full value from it. And we should move from static stretches, which is holding the movement still, onto dynamic stretches after that. So more dynamic stretches are of good value in lots of sports where we actually would move. So we could hold that stretch here in that position for the static stretch, and then we could go into a moving stretch where we're lunging down and moving back up. So we'll be going down and then going the other way. All right, it's a dynamic stretch. Last stage is a skill-related stage. So now we need to, as we're getting towards the activity or the game or the match or whatever, or the practice session, we need to rehearse some movements that we'll do in the competition. So this is obviously dependent on your sport, and we'd need to build in some sport-specific movements, some passing, some throwing, some jumping, whatever it might be that you're going to do in your sport. This is important for your nervous system, to get that firing, to get the nerves firing, so that we're going to react quickly in the game. And the other part of the last bit of the warm-up can be some mental rehearsal. So we might have a little bit of downtime, some thinking time, just to get our head on and reduce the stress of the competition. So benefits. So a benefits question. Now this is where you need to go into a bit more technical language. So the first couple of things are increase in temperature. So we can have an increase in muscle and body temperature from a warm-up. These are obviously both good impacts. The other thing that this can impact on is injury. So by getting nice and warm, we decrease the likelihood that we're going to get injured. By warming up, we get an increased blood flow. So blood starts to pump around the body, and it goes to both the heart and the muscles. We get more blood into the heart, pumping around the rest of the body, but also importantly, we get more blood to muscles. And if we get more blood to muscles, we get more oxygen to muscles. So we get oxygen delivery to muscles. This is good for energy. We need that oxygen for energy for the muscles to work properly. The other side of it is a bit around so we increase our chemical reactions in the body and our metabolism, that increases, and also our nervous transmission. So our nerves travel quicker, all right, by doing the warm-up, and this is important for our reactions and our making our decisions. And then the other side of it, a mental side, so we can increase our mental preparation, as mentioned. All right, get our head on the game, get focused, get confident, reduce anxiety, and also we can rehearse the game movements. So we can rehearse some of the things that we're going to do in the game, our movement patterns, get them firing, so that when we come into the game, we're doing things 100%. So the cool down. The cool down is fairly straightforward. We'd do some light activity that would get gradually reducing in intensity. So we might start off with a jog type exercise, come into a walk, into some slow movement, some small dynamic stretches, and then we would follow that up with some stretching. Now the stretching here would be different. We would look to try to do some maybe developmental stretching of 30 seconds. All right, and this might be where your PNF comes in, your proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation stretches, where we're actually developmentally stretching and we're going to improve our flexibility. That could be part of your cool down. So we're actually taking our time, and as you can see, the group here having a sit down and reducing the intensity as we go. So why do a cool down? Well, a few reasons. The first one, it keeps our heart and our lungs functioning well. This can help us speed up our recovery if we keep those systems in motion for a little bit longer. How does it do this? So it keeps up venous return. So venous return, the amount of blood that returns to the heart. We're getting blood flow coming around the body, and this impacts on a few other things. So through doing that, our capillaries remain open, and that increases our blood flow. So we've got lots of blood going around the body still, and this helps to flush away the rubbish, the carbon dioxide, the lactic acid stuff, horrible stuff that we've created as waste product from our exercise. So that's really important, and that has an impact on reducing DOMS, so delayed onset of muscle soreness, all right, which might kick in the next day or the day after. And I'm sure we've all experienced that. The other impact is that we can help prevent blood pooling. So blood can pool in veins if we just stop, and blood can form in and around the veins, particularly in the lower legs, all right, and sit there if we don't keep the body moving and pump it around. So to prevent that, and this is where the venous return has a direct impact on our blood pooling. So by keeping the muscles moving, that keeps squeezing the blood up from the lower legs back up to the heart and around the body, rather than it sitting if we just stop and stand still.